Clarity. What does it mean to you? How do you express yourself to others about clarity? So, do you actually know what it means to you? Because if you say something else to different people and you send a different vibe to other people and maybe even to yourself versus what you want out there, then how much clarity do you actually have? Well, clarity was something that came up basically last week when during one of the coaching sessions with the group. So for those who do not know, I'm a CHPC. CHPC means Certified High Performance Coach. I've been taught by Brendon Burchard, who came up with a framework and a number of modules which actually have been research based. Now, when other people see CHPC, they know what it is, but when you hear CHPC, you're like, what? Can you say it again? So when it comes to clarity, I can use the word CHPC. It won't tell you anything. Anyway, what I did with the group, we got the assignment to actually share a little bit about an offer that other people couldn't resist. And what I noticed, and maybe you've noticed this too, I've been going back and forth a little bit about the message I want to get across. Well, the message I want to get across for me is clear. It's about teaching people and supporting people to learn to speak up, speak out, and share their story. So they're heard, seen, and understood, respected, valued. And well, I believe that if I teach one person or one party how to improve this, that this will also have an effect on other people down the line. So I believe in the ripple effect. Now, here's the thing. People always talk about, but who is your target audience? And I said it I said it during my group training. And then later on, I also said it to my own coach. I said, it's always the thing between, I don't want to exclude other people versus, but if I approach it in a certain way, I might have a bigger impact versus if I just keep focused on one person at a time. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about I love working with people one-on-one. I love supporting people in turning their life around. So besides being a coach and a therapist, I also guide people locally, which I do a number of hours per week per person. And actually, that can be so gratifying. And well, one of those people is someone who, well, we've been working for over a year now. And when I met her, she was about to go to one of the festivals, and just recently she went to that festival. And we talked about it today, and I already had said to her, this is going to be such a different experience for you, and I'm curious as to how you are going to experience it. Now, we're talking about clarity, right? So for her, in her mind, there's no clarity yet, which means that for her surroundings, there's no clarity yet either. And those who actually do understand her because they're in a similar situation, they are actually like, oh, you're probably a newbie in this, right? And so what do you have? And when did you find it out? And oh, well, actually, it's nice that you're already here. So where was she? She was on this platform for people with some sort of disability, and they cannot stand for a long period of time, or they need a little bit of guidance. And that's why, and I use it too whenever I have a chance and I am at a festival. It's about a raised platform where you have the perfect view on the stage, but it's also far away. And that's what I don't like about it. It's always like I'm watching some sort of DVD instead of actually, being there up front and close and personal. But, there is something nice about knowing that there is a place to sit down when you're tired. And it's sort of like a safe place to be able to go to. Now, what was funny, no, actually, it wasn't funny at all. One of the things that stood out was she said, I'm walking with a crutch. Shouldn't people know that, you make space when people are walking around with a crutch, because you do it because you're in pain? And well, you don't walk around with a crutch for fun. Well, when you see my pinup, the one thing that she's holding is a safari crutch. So you only see the part of the stick, but it's actually an elbow crutch. And I know what it's like to need both of them. So if I were to go to a festival, first of all, I don't know how long I will last. I'll probably be using my braces, but just for safety, I might actually use my crutches too, but I prefer my braces whenever I have the chance nowadays. So yeah, I remember those days that I wasn't heard, that people didn't, I felt like people didn't listen to me. And it was what she said, people are ignoring you. Now, I don't believe people do so on purpose, but I do know a lot of people do so. And even the ones really close to you. And I can tell you that the last part, as in people who are close to you, not taking you seriously, that can be really hurting. And unfortunately, I still encounter it every now and then. Not that many times, that much, but I'm getting better at expressing myself. And that's one of the reasons that I'm actually doing this job. And when I talk about speaking up, speaking out, I talk about clarity. That's why I want people to share the story too. So people actually get an idea behind, hey, what's behind that person who's actually there on that stage, as in on that platform, and who is walking around, and not because it's so much fun. And here's the thing, it does happen, especially at a festival where people are drunk, that people look at you and they start laughing. Well, fortunately, I haven't had that experience that people were laughing at me, but she actually did. And they were just like, oh, see her struggling. And, at the beginning, I remember that when I finally got hurt and I finally had my surgery after 9 months, I was like, why aren't people making room for me? Why is the floor wet? I've got crutches here, I can slip, and then everything has been for nothing. There was so much frustration. Nowadays, I'm sort of like the opposite. I'm good to go. I've had my 2 surgeries. I'm improving every day. Sometimes it's a setback, but I'm so used to it, and I don't have my freedom taken away just because I'm using crutches or braces or whatever it is, or nothing at all. It just depends on the day and what I can and cannot do. But still, it's about clarity. And one of the things that I actually said to her is, well, now that you're back, you need to get a meeting with the other people who you went to the festival with, and just discuss, like, hey, what do you expect, and what were you thinking? Of course, the one party of people that I would like to talk to are those who were actually laughing. And it might be a little bit unfair maybe. But having been in that same situation, I do recollect that one memory, that one event, that actually I was sitting there and I was like, I want something. I was at a birthday party and people were sitting across from me, and it was like, oh, yeah, that's her. She always has something, instead of, hey, can I help you out? But some people, they don't have the mind space. They don't have, well, they basically cannot understand what is going on because they've never experienced it. So one of the two people who were sitting across from me that during that birthday party, well, actually they had something similar a few months later and never said anymore. So that's good. Now, getting back to the whole clarity thing. So nowadays, when you see me, I sort of demand a certain, how do I say it? I have certain expectations, but I don't expect people to immediately understand what I need and want. But this is what I learned. And I do this in big crowds. I do this in supermarkets, but usually when I encounter a group of people and I cannot get around them because, well, either there's no space or it might be too painful to actually take those extra steps. And then I'll go where I want to go and I'll stop and I'll just look at the people like, I want to continue on, but I'm not going to because you're in my way. And sometimes it is because, people are going back and forth and they're jumping and having fun and all that stuff. They are not aware of their surroundings. And let's face it, I'm not always aware of my surroundings when I'm walking, especially since I've discovered Pokemon. So I do know what it's like to be distracted and be in your own world. But when you have a group of people, there's always one person who will notice that you've stopped. And when one person does, then usually that person will say to the other ones, hey, make room so that person can go through. Usually works quite well. And well, I told her, like, when you get more comfortable and you feel more sure and certain about yourself, you are going to behave differently. So the people on the platform saw that she was making herself small, giving room to other people, whereas you're sitting at that platform because you need to sit down. So they were like, no worries. You can take your time here and you can take your space. You're here for a reason, which is so true. And so she finally found some support. And it was the first time that you went to a festival with attributes, in this case, a crutch. And that's why they were surprised that she knew about the platform. Well, that's because she's got me to guide her. And actually, I think that the first time I walked with crutches, people actually came over to me and said, do you need a seat on the stage? Oh, is there a stage? Is there a platform? Oh, how does it work? So I actually got approached, which was quite nice. But now I'm passing on my knowledge to other people so they can use it too. So when it comes to clarity, I will get back to that one message. Now, I told you that when I was talking and writing down my message, I was going back and forth between one thing I can easily write down and then the other thing that I actually say. And those are two sort of different things. Like I said, I don't want to exclude people. But I also know that if I focus, and it's something I really want to do, if I focus on the business owners out there, and I believe that small business owners might work best, because, well, they don't have a lot of money for all kinds of people, especially HR staff, that when I can reach them and I can teach them how to be clear about what it is they want towards themselves, towards their loved ones, towards their kids, towards their employees, towards their clients, that's going to make a huge difference. Because a lot of time, the one thing that I keep hearing is that the client, for instance, or the children or the spouse, they have certain ideas of what to expect. And, well, when we talk about expectations, somehow respect has gone out the window, and people demand. We're so good at demanding things. And I am aware that when I talk about myself in a situation where I'm using my crutches or my braces and I'm waiting for people, that I'm also demanding something from others. The question, of course, is, am I in a position to do so? Is it reasonable, especially that part, is it reasonable that I ask at that moment for some space? And when it comes to respect, I do believe that it is. So, and usually when someone picks up, you will get a huge smile from me and you will hear, thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, getting back to the whole clarity. If I can get one person in such a position to understand how to communicate effectively, and especially with clarity, and clarity means expressing what it is you really want, not what you think the other needs to hear, not I only say it once and then they need to understand. No, clarity means that you keep on doing it until the other one actually gets it. Remember that I was talking about being understood by other people. So my client experienced something similar to what I had experienced, and that's when do the medical staff actually understand what you are expressing. So I understand that the medical staff, as in the doctors and everyone with a certain expertise, have their opinions about what might be something. I mean, they've studied for it long enough, so they've seen thousands of patients, maybe even more, I don't know. But, so they have a huge amount of expertise. But what they don't have is what we, on the other side, as patients, are actually experiencing. So they need to be able to make a difference between, oh, this is what everyone experiences, or at least most of the people, and this is the exception. Now, if you take my parents wouldn't say anything to the doctors. They would say, well, they might talk about the color, they might talk about the amount of trouble, and then the doctor would actually come up with how it was experienced. And in case of my parents, it usually didn't work out the way it should, because he was underselling it, the doctor, whereas my parents were too. So my parents were already careful, and they didn't express enough what it is that they actually experienced, or in this case my dad. And of course they were humble, which was their age. I'm not that humble anymore when it comes to doctors and all. I am very grateful though. whenever I talk to them, and I can get my message across, and they give me the opportunity to let me get my message across. But, then having a doctor diminishing it, that's a bit of a problem. I've experienced that too. They didn't want to believe me, especially because I knew when to take a break. And as a result, you didn't see what was going on. And there's one rule: if it really bothers you, you get back. And that's what they're counting on. If it's really a problem, you will get back. What they don't realize is that a lot of people have given up. And after one time, well, if they don't want to listen, I'm not going to do it, because they feel like it's humiliating having to go there again and again and again and again. And they want to have their own respect. And, well, they're not going to grovel. Well, I'm not going to say I groveled in the first 9 months before the first surgery, but I did go back. I was upset. I was mad. I was disappointed. I was just about anything. And at some point, I didn't have any expectations anymore. But when the doctor said, "Oh, now you'll be in cast. When you get back, we'll see." And I got back and she, "See, now you're good to go." And I looked at him, "I'll see you in 2 weeks again." And, well, that's when I made my point. But it's costing so much energy to get to that point. Now, when we talk about getting that message across and the loss of energy, the question becomes again, but what is that message and how specific are you? So I have learned to actually take pictures, take videos, and describe everything. It's sort of like collecting evidence, because you only see them for one moment in time. And, well, in order for them to understand you, they need to get a better understanding of you. So after that first surgery, it cost me another 3.5 years before I had the second one. And I'm still dealing with the after effects. So slowly things are getting, they are progressing forward again. But, with one comes the other. And like today, for instance, and that was kind of unexpected. I walked down the stairs and then all of a sudden my right knee, the tendon that was in the wrong place all of a sudden. It happens every now and then, and I can tell you it's really painful. But because I'm so used to favoring my left leg, I now all of a sudden had to change, and my brain was like, how? My body was like, how? Muscle memory was for favoring the left side, and now I had to favor the right side. And it was so weird. And then I was like, okay, what would my physical therapist say? Okay, get on your bike. I actually said it to myself too, to get that thing go in the right place again. And it hurt at first, and then at some point I could feel that it was starting to relax, and it slowly got in the right place again. I also remember a moment that something similar happened, and I went back straight to the GP, where I just left like, I cannot handle this. And she looked at me and she couldn't understand for the life of her why I would say so. Fortunately, my physical therapist does. And so it depends on whether I'm talking to the right people or not. But giving people clarity by giving them the right examples, and when they make certain assumptions, sharing with them why you agree or why you do not agree, that makes a lot of difference. Okay, so when I was talking to my coach, and also I talked about doubts and not having doubts and being specific during the training earlier this week, I talked about clarity as in, remember at CHPC I talked about, so Brendon Burchard has this very big Ortner, And there's a lot of stuff in there, including about clarity. So we've learned to actually take the sheet and then just read it, and then you mix it with your own point of views and your own experiences, which is actually kind of nice, I have to admit. And well, I said to my coach, I said, well, she said, and she knows I want to do the trip. So I want to organize a trip for business owners, small business owners, this September in Chicago. So it's not that I'm going to take you to Chicago. It's more like you are in Chicago, and when you are there, then we are going to do some fun things, but also some serious things. And I literally can see it, because that's what she asked. She said, can you visualize it? So what do you visualize, one or the other? I said, well, it's for me, it's palpable. I can see the people in a group setting, and they are so enthusiastic. Some are almost, jumping across the table, and they feel heard and understood, because they understand that they are all in a similar position. Like, how can we do this best? How can we make most of the talents of our employees, but also how can we get across what we need? Being on a different level, there's a totally different point of view when you're owning stuff and, well, numbers, and being able to get invoices out there, versus, hey, I do a job, I'm good at it, and I love to do it. And, well, do I need to be efficient? Well, not necessarily, as long as the job gets done. Well, the business owner might say, do your thing, get the job done, but also know how much time you spend on doing that job. Those kind of little differences. And whereas the other one, the employee might be like, well, I've actually done my thing, and wants to go on to the next thing, and then forgets to write down the amount of hours. Now, of course, there is a lot of things that you can do, but it is one of those things that does come back over and over and over again. And especially when we talk about trust, how do you know if people are actually, especially when we're talking about also selling stuff, that they're actually writing down the thing that's actually accurate, or that somehow they found a way to, keep a little bit of time or money for themselves, with consequences. So it can be because people are sloppy, but it can also be because people are like, you're gone. And that expression, when one is away, then you can do whatever it is you want. We have a saying here in the Netherlands, when the cat's from home, the mice are dancing on the table. Well, I wouldn't know what that expression is in English, but what I do know is there is truth to it. And that when people don't feel they are observed, that they are, more relaxed, more, let me do what it is that I want to do. And of course, you want people to be able to be relaxed and do their stuff. And it's very annoying when someone is constantly watching what you are doing. And we don't want that. We want trust. But how can you make sure that there's enough trust and people don't take advantage of it in the negative sense? Well, then we get back to clarity. What is it you want to get across? Now, like I said, I can see those people actually, doing it and being so enthusiastic. And then we get back, because there's group coaching, and I keep coaching the entire group, and we actually go to other places again. And, well, in time, there's also the possibility not only for them as business owners to go there, but actually to take maybe one or two of their employees with them, who actually make a big difference in their business. So, it's palpable. I can taste it. And I said, but I don't want other people to feel like, oh, I'm watching this and I'm not a business owner, so you're not considering me. But, I cannot be heard, I cannot be seen, I cannot be understood and respected and valued. So are you brushing me off? And that's the one thing, of course, I don't want. I want all the people to be heard. That's why I also work locally with people one on one, multiple hours a week. So they actually get there where they need to be. And knowing how certain things run in a business and how certain people talk, I can actually, when I sit there, I'm not just a coach. I'm also sort of like someone who's familiar with how things run in businesses. I mean, I've been in plenty of roles, including contract manager, to know how certain things work. So, and the most important thing is that you get your message across, and you can tell by how the people respond if it actually sinks in, or if they're like, yeah, just keep on talking, 5 minutes, your time is up, and bye. And that's what we do not want. So one of the things that we had to do was come up with a number of reasons. So it started with the most wanted results. And well, for me, it's perspective on a life or business where people feel strong, confident, accepted, understood. And of course, depending on whether we're talking about life, we're talking about kids, about family, about spouses, about friends. And when we're talking about business, we're more talking about clients and employees and maybe suppliers. So it's a little bit different, but the whole idea behind it is actually the same. And what I like most about when it comes to business owners is some of them have a tendency to do too much of the operational stuff instead of taking a step back and thinking about what needs to be done on a strategic level. And when they see that other people don't do it, that's when they actually say, okay, just let me do it, move over, then it gets done. But the most important thing of the business owner is not just to also take part in the daily operational business. I mean, it can be a good thing. I mean, you keep your skills up to date and you show your employees like, hey, I don't feel too good to mingle with you. But on the other hand, you do also want to be the one who is talking to the clients. And I'm talking about the ones who are in charge. So the managers who actually can buy certain services or products from you. So you can have your employees talk to their employees, but you want to talk with the right person. So they see your point of view and actually, get what you have in mind for them. But again, they want clarity, they want to be heard, and they also want to feel that they are understood. So it's all a big game of how do you express yourself and how does it come across. Now, I also wrote down without. So I think that we actually had to write down without what. And depending on when you ask this, so today I said about one of my employees that she didn't demand certain things, as in she looked at it and people sort of laughed at her and they didn't take her seriously, and they literally said, well, go around me, instead of like, hey, hello. And like I said, when people are drunk, that's the way they do act. It's very unfortunate, but the moment that people are drunk, they don't take others into consideration anymore. So this actually can have an effect on the other person too. Because what do you do when you are not heard, seen, and understood? You tend to numb yourself. So I usually say the young ones out there, they are very good at cutting themselves in places where you do not see it. And then, of course, there are the people you like some alcohol and then some of the powder. There are other people who do so. Actually, there are so many sorts of addiction when it comes to it. But even food, just eating something, but also therapeutic shopping. It's about that moment that you do something and you get those endorphins and you feel really good. The thing is, it just doesn't last, and you need more and more of the same thing in order to get it done. Now, so what did I write down? Without the need to numb themselves, doing so one thing, that's one thing. But if you do it on a consistent basis, it's going to be so hard to change that. You need a very good remedy or a very good perspective to stop doing so. So there have been people who have been cutting themselves and they actually stopped doing so when I talked about it, and I didn't get mad when they did. What I actually did was I got some lotion, and which was actually good for sensitive skin and eczema and dry skin. And I said, okay, I'm just going to put it on there. Let's give yourself some love instead. And next time we're going to talk about how to prevent this. So the other thing was, without putting yourself down, blaming yourself, it must be me. Now, when we are talking about those people who need support, people who need a little bit of help, and well, apparently it's not done to ask for help. We all have to be independent. And well, it's a sign of weakness if you are going to ask for help. Well, BS, I don't believe so. I think you can actually show a lot of strength by asking for support. And you never know how it turns out for someone else on the opposite side. And what was important about that conversation today with my client who had been to the festival was that I let her know, we are going to make sure that your self-image is going to improve, because this is about you feeling that you are worth it, that you are worth being seen. And especially when you start life with a setback, and it doesn't always necessarily have to be a physical ailment or something. I mean, I started sort of with a setback in the beginning of life. Nowadays, I dare say there's an advantage to it as well. But, growing up between all these people who were blonde with blue eyes, and there I was with, dark hair and dark brown eyes, it didn't really fit very well. And, well, I got bullied because of it. And it was so funny when I had a conversation with someone last Monday. So this person had the same background as I did. So my mom is from Indonesia. I think his dad was from Indonesia. And he said, don't you feel like, the Dutch people, the ones with the blonde hair and blue eyes, a little bit of a different kind of breed? I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. And I said, well, actually, because there weren't many pictures back then, I said, I felt like one of them. And then I would see the pictures taken in class and I was like, oh, is that me? So no. And of course, I have a Dutch dad who used to be 6'6", so, But that part of believing in yourself, knowing that you're worth it, being confident, showing up with courage, but also with a smile on your face, that makes all the difference. When I have to go to a crowd, and usually I'm on my own when I'm at a festival, I'm not that big. So, and a lot of people, fans are guys. So I've learned to actually put my hands on their shoulders and just, go to one side or the other. And I'm quite good at it. And, when I'm stuck, I'll tap on the shoulder. And if they don't respond, I'll tap again. And then by the third time, they're like, huh, huh, huh. Well, their friends probably have picked up on it. Remember what I said at the beginning? And if their friends haven't, then at some point they will like, he is bothering me. And then at some point I smile at them when they look at me and I say, can I please pass? And then, oh yeah, sure. So there's a difference in approach when it comes to these things. Now, that's the without part. So I don't want people to feel ashamed of themselves. I don't want them to numb themselves. It's actually the one thing that I want to take out of all the people. I want people to feel like, yes, I am respected and I respect myself. So good about themselves. Now, here was the humble power brag. Okay, so humble versus bragging. Well, that's interesting. So then I basically have to tell you, like, hey, I've been coaching for over a decade, and well, since 2009. Actually, a little bit earlier, I already started doing that kind of stuff. And, I've been a trainer for way longer. And, well, I also, of course, am a therapist. And so they also want you to show your expertise. So basically, it is relevant to say, like, hey, I've been trained by Brendon Burchard for over a decade. Oh, actually, I went to see Tony Robbins when he was there in England to do, well, that's always a little bit awkward when I don't know what it is. And the power from within, it's called a little bit differently. But I also went to the business version, which was kind of interesting. And I learned a lot, especially that one thing when he said, when you have a dream and then you've reached that dream and you don't have a bigger goal, that's when people start losing grip. And that's when joy starts to diminish. It was something that he said, you always need to have a dream and a bigger dream that's possible so you can keep on going. I like that one. So, of course, then there's also the other thing. And so lately I've been talking a lot about people who are neurodivergent. And I am all about mindset. Now, nowadays, yeah, I'm sorry, I've got this tickle here. And this is live. So yeah, I was hoping that it would be gone by now, but it isn't. It happens every now and then when I keep on talking, it actually gets worse. So let me take another sip. If I would have a pause button, that's probably what I do now, but I don't. If it wouldn't be live, I could do it. So getting back to mindsets, most people know sort of what mindsets are. I don't know if they know that it's actually something that came into existence most often between 0 and 7 years old. And I do also believe that we actually pick up things in the womb as well, especially when there's a lot of fighting and tension going on in the mother. So fighting in the house, and which reflects on the mom. The baby must experience that. They must experience the stress. I don't believe that they don't. So there are a lot of things already, going on, but you can't make sense of it. So, at some point you go to school and then you learn to use your ratio, and then, slowly you get to understand why certain things happen and why not. So that's why the years between 0 and 7 are very crucial. But of course, a lot of things can happen straight after too, which can be very traumatic. And it's those moments that actually create certain mindsets. So I describe mindsets as survival mechanisms. And when we're young, they work for us. And then when we grow older, we still have the same survival mechanisms, but we are older, we are in different situations, we have different mechanics. So that's going to work against us most often. And that's when clarity comes back in. Clarity about, hey, why did I do what I do? And actually doing a little bit of research, as in writing things down, writing down how you reacted and what it meant to you to experience certain situations. And whenever you get surprised and overwhelmed in a certain situation, just take the time afterwards to write down what's your reaction, what happened. So just recently I got into a little bit of a fight. There was most certainly frustration on my end, and I'm pretty sure on the other one's end too. It didn't end the way I wanted to, because it was already late and the other person was like, I want to sleep. So I recorded a video and I expressed myself at that moment. And I also talked about something that I said to myself that I needed to do. And it was a message to myself like, okay, girl, think about this in the future in case you are wondering why you should do certain things. So it gave me clarity to just record it and to look back at it. And I actually showed some other people and I said, okay, so this is what happened. So they got a better understanding of how I felt. But it was all in line actually with what I've been talking about with my coach and all. And so getting back to the humble power brag, it's basically about, hey, people, I'm not just someone. It's not that I've done a 1-day course. It's not that I've done a 1-year course. I have been studying certain things. And one of the things that I'm studying right now has to do with neurodivergency, and with people in the spectrum, people who are visual thinkers, and so people who do not fit in most of the time because they are different and not understood. And there we get back to clarity again. So it all makes sense. The question, of course, is, do I want to use the word neurodivergent in my message? So people who are already familiar with neurodivergence, they will say, oh, that's nice. Finally, someone who understands me. But for the other people who are not there yet, they are probably like, neurodivergence, what? Just like CHPC, remember, the Certified High Performance Coach. And then, of course, I said Brendon Burchard, but most people will say, who on earth is Brendon Burchard? And they'll say, well, he's into self-development, growth, and into marketing. And I know him from the marketing part, by the way. Now, continuing on, there's the big ticket. Well, that was actually interesting, and I think I rewrote it again, but I'm going to write down what's probably the first version. The big ticket is my special year-long Road Buddies CHPC. There we go again. Remember, clarity. CHPC doesn't say anything. Road Buddies, well, it tells something that I want to take you on a trip. So I call my coaches my Road Buddies. So when people first get to talk to me, they might get the impression that I'm a travel blogger, because I do love to travel. That's totally true. But what I need in order to be able to travel is actually freedom. And in order to experience freedom, I need to speak up. So, those things go hand in hand. Do I also want to capture what I'm seeing, something, some parts of the culture, experience certain things? Yes. So I believe that going to certain places and, getting a feel of what the location is like, and then also, taking advantage of it because it gives me inspiration, that's completely yes. So I'm talking about Road Buddies, CHPC, group coaching. Hey, that's something people know. Chicago. Oh, that's something people also know. Trip offer, trip. What does she mean with trip? So other people who know me know that I actually am talking about some sort of resort kind of thing, but also not, because I have a schedule where I want people to be, and depending on what they actually want, I can do it where the rooms are included, but I can also say we are going to meet up at this time over there. So they take care of their own place to stay, but preferably I would like people to stay in the same hotel so we can start and finish together. And of course, during the day, also do stuff together. And then for small business owners. And then they say, attention. And it was so funny. So attention to all small business owners out there who don't feel heard, seen, understood, valued, and respected in their businesses and by their loved ones. And then I was like, yeah, that's a message, and it incorporates both life, spouses, loved ones, family, friends, and business all together. So, and now here it is. If I offered to teach you, so usually I don't talk about teaching, even though I'm a trainer, but yeah, there is a teaching component. We as coaches don't just listen anymore. We actually want people to go places, so we do teach people. That's different from actually telling them what to do. It's about giving them food for thought. So if I offered to teach you how to get most out of your life and business and become part of a community consisting of other small business owners who have trouble getting through to their staff and loved ones for the next upcoming year, including at least one trip, there we go, trip on location, would you take me up on it? Now, between what I said and would you take me up on it, there's actually a part in between. And so there are the things which are, we're talking about the improvement. So perspective on a life where you feel stronger, more confident, accepted and understood. Of course, the same applies to the business. And the extra thing is, when we're talking about business owners, is of course that they see where they can make use of their employees the best way. Well, that doesn't sound entirely the way I wanted to come across, but if people are being challenged, they usually like it. And if they're seen for their expertise and the uniqueness and what they're good at, and you actually tell them, okay, go ahead, go do your thing, see how you can improve things, and then come back to me and we'll talk about it. that usually does make you feel special. And, you can get a reward financially, or you can get a reward by actually being seen. And apparently, people would rather be seen and acknowledged than get an extra bonus. Or maybe they want the both. That would make more sense to me. So, and one of the things that's in there is about creating a better connection between all parties involved. Now, remember the without, I put that in there too. And then here's the thing. So you can finally focus on what matters in your business and life, having employees and your loved ones respecting and supporting you by doing things they can easily do, and which makes a world of difference to you. And then we basically go to the offer. So, and thrive with the Special Growth Buddies Chicago offer. I left some things out. Did you notice? Including a year-long group coaching training. Would you take me up on that offer? Now, why did I read all of this to you? Because this is all about clarity. And, well, when I wrote this the first time, and of course, this was actually not the first time that I wrote about it. I've been writing about it for way longer. But how the thing between expressing yourself and writing things down, those are two different things. So when it comes to, I want people to experience perspective in their life, that's a given for me. And I usually tell them, especially when I talk with local people, I said, well, the people who usually come to me are those who don't see any perspective in life anymore, and it's either in life and also in business. But they've basically given up on life, and that's where somehow people say, oh, you need to be with Lexi, and then, they end up with me. And it almost always has to do with not being heard, seen, and understood. So I want them to learn to speak up and speak out and share the story, and do so with clarity. And it's all about respect. So yeah, it's, expressing one thing versus the other, that's a whole big difference. I mean, saying what I want, and when I say I want to leave a legacy where people are, yes, heard, seen, and understood, respected, valued, and vice versa, where they also teach others how to speak up and speak out and be heard, seen, and respected and valued, and passing this on to their loved ones, their family, their friends, their children, the next generation. I mean, wouldn't that be amazing if people would have more respect for one another and actually see and take time out to say, oh yeah, I see what's going on. Okay, let me help you for a second, but also express themselves. I mean, it would make the world such a better place for a lot of people, and with a lot less loneliness too. So, that's my legacy that I want to leave behind. I want to touch upon people so they can pass it forward. And if I can do so, that would be amazing. That's, that's what I want to establish before I'm not here anymore at this. You never know. I mean, life could be over, in a heartbeat. We don't want that to. Well, at least not as long as we're in good health. But, so when I was talking about this, and I was thinking about today, I was like, yeah, it's all about clarity. And today I want to talk about clarity too. And you know what the funny thing is? The 2 times that I did a clarity challenge was actually when I returned from Chicago. So it's on my schedule this year to go to Chicago. It would be amazing if I can actually have that group of people over there, you can work together and feel understood and excited by one another. I mean, how amazing would that be? Because they all have the same dream in mind, which is being seen, understood, and also work more effectively with their employees. And, in turn, also that they are in a better place. So, well, that was my speech about clarity today. Well, it was more than just a speech. I just wanted to give you all the different angles. So I didn't talk about the distraction. I don't think that's relevant today. Today was literally about clarity and how to get across and the importance of actually believing in yourself, valuing yourself, respecting yourself. Uh, so you can actually get your message across, and not just one time, but multiple times if necessary. Just don't do it the same way and expect a different outcome. So, well, having said so, if you're interested in what I talked about, then just reach out to me. Um, Easiest way is, well, either you can leave a comment, but you can also go to one of my blog posts or go to ladylexi.com/sign up for change, because what we're talking about is change in the end. So if you want to get in touch, you know what to do. If you have some other ideas you want to talk about, of course, leave a comment so I can get into it. But for now, make sure that you know what it is that you want and go for it. And that's why I said go to ladylexi.com/sign up for change, because it starts with knowing what you want and then going for the change, the challenge.